respected. If you can see it clearly in your mind before it exists in your life, you are already holding the blueprint of your future. And today I want to show you how to use that hidden power you were born with to change everything. Let me start by asking you something deeply personal. Have you ever noticed how your life often turns out exactly the way you expect it to, even when you don't consciously plan it that way? Not the way you hope it will turn out, but the way you truly expect it to. The quiet expectations you carry, images you replay when no one is watching, the outcomes you secretly believe are possible for you. This is not coincidence. This is the invisible force of creative visualization at work, whether you're using it intentionally or accidentally. When I was younger, like many people, I believed success was about working harder, grinding longer, sacrificing more. And yes, effort matters, discipline matters, action matters. But what I didn't understand back then is that action without direction is exhaustion, and effort without a clear internal image is just motion without meaning. I watched people who seemed to succeed effortlessly, not because they were lucky, but because they were internally aligned. They knew where they were going before they ever got there. Creative visualization is not wishful thinking. It's not pretending everything is perfect while avoiding reality. It's not sitting on a couch imagining wealth while doing nothing. Creative visualization is the deliberate act of programming your brain to recognize, pursue, and act on opportunities that already exist but remain invisible to an unfocused mind. Your brain is a goal-achieving machine. It is designed to move you toward what you focus on most. But here's the truth most people never hear. Your brain cannot tell the difference between something you vividly imagine and something you actually experience. When you repeatedly visualize a future with emotion, clarity, and belief, your brain begins to rewire itself to make that future feel familiar. And what feels familiar feels safe. What feels safe becomes achievable. Think about how many times you've imagined failure, how many times you've replayed embarrassment, rejection, loss, or disappointment before it even happened. Every one of those images carried emotion. Every one of them sent a signal to your nervous system, and without realizing it, you were practicing the future you didn't want. Creative visualization simply teaches you how to reverse that process consciously. Let me share something that changed everything for me. There was a period in my life when the outer results weren't matching the inner effort. I was busy but not fulfilled, motivated but not progressing, and one day I realized something uncomfortable. My actions were aiming forward, but my self-image was stuck in the past. Inside my mind, I still saw myself as someone who struggled, someone who fell short, someone who had to fight for every win. No matter how hard I worked, I kept recreating that identity. The moment I began to intentionally visualize a new version of myself, not arrogantly, not unrealistically, but honestly and vividly, something shifted. I started seeing myself handling challenges calmly, speaking with confidence, making decisions from clarity instead of fear. I felt the emotions of success before it arrived, and slowly, almost quietly, my behavior began to match that image. That's how creative visualization truly works. It changes who you are being long before it changes what you are doing. Here's the part most people miss. Visualization without emotion is weak. Visualization without repetition fades. And visualization without belief feels fake. But when you combine clear imagery with emotion, repetition, and meaning, your subconscious mind accepts it as a new instruction. Your subconscious mind runs your habits, your reactions, your confidence, and your self-worth. It doesn't respond to logic. It responds to images and feelings. That's why a single memory can make your heart race. That's why a thought can change your mood instantly. Visualization speaks the language of the subconscious. Imagine this. Two people wake up in the morning. One immediately thinks about stress, bills, pressure, and problems. The other spends just 5 minutes visualizing themselves handling the day with focus, calm, and purpose. Seeing themselves making progress. Feeling gratitude in advance. Which person do you think notices more opportunities? Which one speaks differently? Which one takes better action without forcing it? Creative visualization is not about controlling the future. It's about aligning yourself with it. When you visualize, you are training your brain's filtering system to notice what supports your goals. Opportunities were always there. Connections were always there. Ideas were always there. You just weren't tuned to see them. Visualization adjusts your internal lens. And let me be clear about something important. Doubt will show up. Resistance will show up. Old programming will try to pull you back. That doesn't mean it's not working. That means it is. Every time you visualize a new future, you are challenging an old identity, and the old identity doesn't disappear quietly. But here's the breakthrough. You don't need to believe 100%. You just need to be willing to see something different than your past. Even a small shift in self-image can create massive changes in behavior over time. Think of your mind like fertile soil. Whatever images you plant consistently will grow. If you plant fear, limitation grows. If you plant possibility, clarity grows. If you plant purpose, confidence grows. The soil doesn't judge. It simply responds. As you listen to this, I want you to realize something deeply empowering. You are already visualizing every day. The question is not whether you use creative visualization. The question is whether you are using it consciously or unconsciously, whether it's creating your future or repeating your past. In the next part, I'm going to walk you through how to use creative visualization in a way that feels natural, grounded, and powerful. Not complicated, not mystical, but practical and life-changing. So for now, just sit with this truth. The future you want begins as an image you choose to hold again and again until your mind accepts it as normal. The next thing you need to understand is that creative visualization is not about escaping your current reality. It's about upgrading how you relate to it. Many people try to visualize a life that feels so far away from who they believe they are that their mind rejects it instantly. That's why it feels fake, forced, or uncomfortable. And when it feels fake, the subconscious shuts the door. So the key is not to visualize what you want someday, but to visualize who you are becoming step by step. Think of visualization like tuning a radio. You don't jump from silence to a crystal clear signal instantly. You adjust the frequency gradually until the noise fades and clarity comes through. In the same way, the most powerful visualizations are the ones that feel believable enough to your nervous system that it says, "This could be me." Let me explain this through a simple human experience. Have you ever prepared for an important conversation in your head? Maybe a job interview, a difficult discussion, or a moment where you needed confidence. You probably imagined what you would say, how the other person might respond, how you would handle it. And when the moment arrived, it felt strangely familiar. You weren't perfect, but you were calmer, more present. That's creative visualization working in real life. Your brain had already rehearsed the experience. Now imagine applying that same principle to your goals, your finances, your health, your confidence, your relationships. Not as a fantasy, but as a rehearsal. You are not pretending. You are training. One of the most important shifts you can make is to stop visualizing outcomes and start visualizing behaviors and feelings. Instead of seeing a big house, see yourself waking up feeling peaceful and fulfilled. Instead of seeing money, see yourself making clear decisions, managing resources wisely, feeling secure and generous. Instead of seeing applause, see yourself speaking with confidence, breathing steadily, expressing your truth. Outcomes are the result. Identity creates the result. When you visualize behaviors and emotions, your brain starts building neural pathways that support those behaviors in real life. You become the kind of person who naturally takes the actions required without forcing motivation every day. Here's something most people don't realize. Motivation is unreliable. Emotion is reliable. And visualization is how you generate emotion on demand. When you feel the emotions of your future now, your present actions begin to align automatically. Let me share a quiet Ruth, that changed the way I visualize forever. The subconscious mind learns through repetition and emotion, not time. That means 5 minutes of emotionally charged visualization every day is far more powerful than one long session once a month. Consistency trains identity, so instead of waiting for the perfect time, the perfect place, the perfect mood, you make visualization a simple daily ritual. Not heavy, not dramatic, just intentional. Picture this. You wake up before checking your phone, before absorbing the world's noise. You close your eyes and see yourself moving through the day with clarity. You feel gratitude before anything happens. You imagine yourself responding instead of reacting, focused instead of scattered, confident instead of doubtful. It takes minutes, but it sets the tone for hours. Your brain loves patterns. When you repeat this daily, your mind starts to expect that version of you. And when the day challenges you, something interesting happens. You pause. You remember the image. You respond differently. That's the bridge between visualization and real transformation. Now let's talk about resistance, because it will show up. You will visualize something empowering, and then a voice will say, "Who do you think you are?" Or, "This has never worked before." Or, "Be realistic." That voice is not your enemy. It's your old programming, trying to keep you safe by keeping you familiar. You don't fight it. You acknowledge it and return to the image. creative visualization is not about suppressing doubt. It's about gently overriding it with a stronger emotional signal. Over time, the old voice gets quieter because the new image gets stronger. Another powerful element most people overlook is sensory detail. The more senses you involve, the more real the image becomes to your brain. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel in your body? What emotions are present? You're not watching a movie, you're inside the experience. And most importantly, you visualize from the first-person perspective, not watching yourself succeed, but being the one experiencing it, feeling the confidence in your chest, the calm in your breath, the certainty in your decisions. This is how you collapse the distance between who you are and who you are becoming. Let me be very clear here. Visualization does not replace action. It refines it, it directs it, it removes unnecessary struggle. When your mind is aligned, action becomes cleaner, faster, and more effective. You stop asking, will this work? And start asking, what's the next aligned step? And here's a beautiful realization. The more you visualize with clarity and emotion, the more your intuition sharpens. Ideas come easier. Solutions appear unexpectedly. You start trusting yourself more because your internal world is no longer chaotic. It's intentional. In the next part, I want to take you deeper. I want to show you how to integrate creative visualization into your daily life in a way that permanently shifts your self-image and rewires your habits, even when life gets busy and messy. There comes a moment in every personal transformation where you realize that information alone is not the problem. You already know what to do. You've read the books, you've listened to the talks, you've felt inspired before, and yet something keeps pulling you back to the same patterns. That something is your self-image. And creative visualization is the most direct way to reshape it. Your self-image is the internal story you carry about who you are, what you deserve, and what's possible for you. It silently dictates how much you earn, how you treat your body, the kind of relationships you tolerate, and how boldly you speak your truth. And here's the critical insight. You will always act in alignment with your self-image, even when it contradicts your goals. That's why visualization must become part of your identity, not just an occasional exercise. Let me explain how this plays out in real life. Imagine someone who sees themselves as not good with money. Even if they visualize wealth occasionally, their daily decisions will sabotage progress. They'll avoid looking at numbers. They'll hesitate to invest in growth. They'll feel discomfort around abundance. The visualization doesn't stick because it contradicts the identity. Now imagine the same person visualizing themselves as someone who learns, improves, and manages money with clarity. Not rich overnight, not perfect, just capable. Respond, Siebel, calm. Over time, their behavior changes. They read differently, they spend differently, they think differently. That's visualization aligned with identity. This is why the most powerful visualizations focus on becoming, not having. One of the most transformative practices you can adopt is something I call future memory. Instead of imagining a distant fantasy, you create a memory from the future that feels like it has already happened. You visualize a moment where you've grown, where you handled something well, where you stayed consistent, where you chose courage over comfort. You feel pride, relief, gratitude. And then you bring that feeling back into the present. Your brain doesn't label it as imagination, it stores it as experience. And when experience changes, confidence changes. Another key is to anchor visualization to existing habits. You don't need more time, you need better integration. Visualize while showering, while walking, while sitting quietly before sleep, especially before sleep. Because the subconscious mind is most receptive when the body is relaxed and the analytical mind is quiet. As you drift into sleep, your mind naturally creates images. Instead of letting random worries play, you gently guide the images toward the future you are building. Not forcefully, just intentionally, night after night, those images seep into your subconscious and begin shaping your default responses. Let me share something deeply human. There will be days when you visualize and feel nothing, days when it feels flat, days when life overwhelms you and your mind refuses to cooperate. This does not mean you are failing. This is part of the process. Visualization works through accumulation, not intensity. Just like going to the gym, some workouts feel powerful, others feel ordinary. But the body still adapts. The same is true for your mind. The real shift happens when you start noticing yourself responding differently in situations you used to struggle with. You pause instead of reacting. You speak instead of shrinking. You take action instead of procrastinating. These are quiet victories, and they are proof that your visualization is working. Here's an important reminder. Visualization should never be used to escape discomfort. It should be used to prepare for it. When you visualize yourself handling challenges with strength and grace, you build emotional resilience. Life doesn't get easier, you get stronger. And the most powerful moment to visualize is right after a setback. When something doesn't go your way, instead of replaying the failure, you visualize yourself learning, adjusting, and moving forward. You teach your brain that obstacles are temporary and growth is permanent. Over time, this rewires your relationship with fear. Fear stops being a stop sign and becomes a signal, a sign that growth is happening. As you continue practicing creative visualization, something beautiful unfolds. You stop chasing motivation and start embodying purpose. You stop waiting for confidence and start acting from clarity. You stop reacting to life and start leading it internally. This is not about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you were before doubt layered itself over your potential. In the next part, I want to bring everything together. I want to show you how creative visualization becomes a lifelong tool, not just for goals, but for peace, fulfillment, and meaning. At some point on this journey, you begin to realize that creative visualization is not just a technique you use to get something. It becomes a way of relating to life itself, a way of choosing your inner experience before the outer world tries to choose it for you. And that is where true power lives. Most people live reactively. They wake up and immediately absorb the expectations, fears, and urgencies of the world. News, messages, responsibilities, problems. Their inner world is shaped by whatever happens to them. But when you practice creative visualization consistently, you reverse that order. You decide first. You create internally, then you engage externally. And that changes everything. Visualization becomes your emotional compass. When you are clear about how you want to feel, how you want to show up, how you want to grow, your decisions become simpler. You stop chasing what looks good and start choosing what feels aligned. Let me speak to something deeply human here. Many people use visualization only when they want to fix something. More money, better health, a new opportunity. But the most fulfilled people use visualization to cultivate states of being, peace, gratitude, presence, contribution. When you visualize from that place, success becomes a byproduct, not the burden. You begin to understand that happiness is not a reward you earn later. It's a state you practice now. As your visualization practice matures, your inner dialogue softens. You stop fighting yourself. You stop forcing outcomes. You trust the process because you trust who you are becoming. You realize that even if the external result takes time, the internal growth is immediate, and that growth changes how you experience every moment along the way. One of the most powerful realizations you can have is this: you are always living into a picture. The question is whether it was consciously chosen or unconsciously inherited. Old beliefs, past failures, other people's limitations, or a vision rooted in your own truth. When you choose your vision intentionally, you reclaim authorship over your life. Creative visualization is how you remind your nervous system that you are safe to grow, safe to expand, safe to step into something new. And when the body feels safe, the mind becomes creative instead of defensive. This is why visualization reduces stress, increases clarity, and builds emotional resilience. You are no longer constantly bracing for impact. You are preparing for possibility. And here's something subtle but profound. When you visualize yourself living with purpose and integrity, you begin to act in ways that honor that image, even when no one is watching. Your standards rise naturally. Your boundaries strengthen quietly. Your self-respect deepens. You don't need external validation as much because your internal alignment becomes the reward. Let me leave you with a simple image. Imagine your mind as a blank canvas each morning. You can allow yesterday's worries to paint it, or you can gently choose the colors you want to live in today. Calm, focus, courage, gratitude, direction. That choice, repeated daily, becomes your life. Creative visualization is not about controlling every outcome. It's about cultivating the inner environment from which better outcomes naturally grow. It's about becoming intentional with the one place where all change begins, your mind. Now you understand why visualization works. Not because it's magical, but because you are, because your brain is adaptable, your identity is flexible, and your future is not fixed. And as you continue to practice, remember this: the version of you see consistently is the version you will eventually become. Respected, before you return to your day, I want you to pause for just a moment and really hear this. You do not become what you want, you become what you repeatedly see yourself as. Long before the world reflects your growth, your mind must recognize it as normal. And that recognition begins with a single intentional image, creative visualizati. On is not about escaping your present life. It is about honoring your future self enough to prepare for them today. Every time you close your eyes and choose a vision rooted in courage, clarity, and purpose, you are casting a vote for the person you are becoming. And over time, those votes add up. There will be days when nothing seems to change. Days when doubt whispers louder than belief. Days when progress feels invisible. But remember this, the most important shifts happen beneath the surface first. Roots grow before branches appear. Identity evolves before results arrive. And the work you do in your inner world is never wasted. You are not late. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are in the process of remembering your power. From this moment forward, let your mind become a place of intention instead of tension. Let your imagination become a training ground, not a hiding place. See yourself living with integrity. Feel yourself responding with strength. Trust yourself to take the next aligned step even when the full path is not visible. And when the world tries to pull you back into old patterns, return to your vision. Not with force, but with compassion. Not with pressure, but with consistency. Because the future you are building is not created in one dramatic moment. It is created in quiet daily choices to see yourself differently. Hold the image. Feel the emotion. Take the action. Your life will follow.